Hello and welcome back to another mistake. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
And I'm Alistair, and I'm begging for death.
And you're right to.
Someone go back into my past and kill me just as I, leave the hospital after I was born and save me this fucking cursed podcast and this cursed fucking film.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I do have a wormhole in my basement, but it only goes to the year 857, and I don't know why.
Just gonna Google year 857.
It's when they invented bread.
Yeah.
We watched Timeline.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry
thanks.
if it wasn't obvious yet. Why?
Yeah, sorry if it wasn't obvious that this film that fucking fell out one of those like fucking Mandela effect holes wasn't obvious to you. This film didn't exist until this podcast did, and yet somehow it was released in 2003.
Yeah,
It is the most Praxis cast film we've ever seen.
it is very much, yes.
It's exactly as jank as Skyrim, so yes, it absolutely combines all of our bad takes.
It's based on a Michael Crichton novel, stars Paul Walker and Gerard Butler.
And Billy
Connolly! What? And fucking, what's his face? The guy...
Harry Potter's dad.
Harry Potter... No, not Harry Potter's dad. Harry Potter's teacher. Don't make me remember how
he's his
Harry
dad.
Potter...
I've given up.
Okay, Harry Potter's dad.
Yeah. Some fucking new metal guy.
Yeah, the angel guy from that Amazon show.
The who from the what?
The angel from the Amazon show that everybody loves, with where the two of them are not having sex.
Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen, right? Okay, yeah.
And we've got the twink torturer from Justified.
Yeah, there's just a cast. There's a cast of thousands, like. But yeah, I mean, the plot of this film. This was suggested by someone who sniped it from another podcast, Discord, I believe.
Yeah.
But the plot of this film is that like Billy Connolly is a fucking Indiana Jones guy, and he accidentally goes back in time.
He's not though.
His son is like doing Indiana Jones shit and digs up a fucking note from him saying like, "Help! I'm trapped at the fucking like history factory. Send help."
Yeah, but his son doesn't want to be in the history factory. He wants to be in the future factory because that's the thing. The
thing that was great about this was we watched the trailer, and it's like, there's Gerard Butler and there's Paul Walker, and they're talking about like, someone's going, "Oh, your dad's stuck in the past," and I'm like, yeah, which one of them's dad is it? Because the obvious choice would be Gerard Butler, right? Billy Connolly would be Gerard Butler's dad. But I said at the time, I was like, my hope is that he's Paul Walker's dad for some reason, and yeah, sure enough, like, you know what I mean?
It's so stupid because the film, Paul Walker as a character did not need to exist. He's boring as shit. This would have been a much better film.
No, that's not true. No. Paul Walker does an absolutely great line of wearing a big sock on his head, and I'm just entirely there.
To be fair, the entire film could have not existed, and we'd all have been at least as well off as we were before, if not better.
No, because it's historical determinism. This film was always meant to exist because we were always meant to do this podcast.
If this film didn't exist, we would have to create it.
Yes.
I don't know if we'd go that far, like, but yeah.
I maintain Paul Walker is only in this because they're like, oh, he did well in Fast and Furious, so we'll, make our efforts to like get some star power in here. Gerard Butler just isn't high, watermark enough for us, and it did tremendous damage to the script as a consequence. Not that I would have saved it.
Don't be mad at me, but
oh, I think I will be.
Of all the films that we've watched with Gerard Butler in it, this was the one that I found him the least egregiously offensive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that.
It's because this was released before 300, and he took on that fucking persona that he's got in films now.
He actually acts in this one, and his acting doesn't fucking suck. I'm sorry, like, there's scenes where he's in it. Like, I'll say this, some of the best scenes in this film are scenes carried by Gerard Butler. And some of the other best scenes are scenes carried by Billy Connolly, and that's kind of it. So
I simply don't think there are any best scenes worth carrying.
Yeah, that's kind of an arm with.
I've just looked at the wiki page for the novel, and it seems like Paul Walker was called Chris, right, in the film?
Yeah.
Yeah, that character's in the book, but isn't the son of Billy Connolly's character. So they like, you know what I mean? He is in the book, but they decided, you know what's missing here is if he was inexplicably the Scottish guy's son.
Should we talk about the fucking plot?
Yeah, the film starts, right? At the start of the film, the captain from Lethal Weapon is driving through the desert in New Mexico, and he almost hits the film's second assistant director with his car. And then, you know, like, smash cut to the hospital where the fucking guy that got fired from The Expanse for sex crimes is looking at an MRI and going, "This guy looks like a fucking jigsaw puzzle."
Yeah, they're basically looking at an MRI and going, "He's got bonitis."
Yeah. He's come down with a bad case of the wonky.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you do too much ketamine.
Yeah, cat hole, wormhole. It's mainly the same thing if you think about it.
Yeah. But yeah, the guy didn't have, like, the guy was dressed like a medieval peasant and didn't have any ID on him or anything. But the only thing he had on him was a little, like, fucking amulet thing, which apparently had
a thing
the
from Hot
company's...
Topic.
Yeah, apparently
Yeah.
had his like employer's name on it. Which, you know, sounds reasonable when you first see the first 2 minutes of this film, but then is later revealed to be a bit fucking mad, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing though. It's just like, what if a dead guy turns up and all he has is like, if found, please return to Amazon PLC. It's like, all right, so where's that then?
You work from home, you get issued company equipment, and it's like, you know, labeled property of Time Travel Criminals Inc.
But yeah, the doctor and a security guard are discussing about how they, you know, the only thing they had on was that thing, and it had the company's name stamped on it. So they called them, and they're our biggest contributor or something like that. And then Neil McDonough turns up and says he's from the company and he's come to collect the corpse because, you know, when you die, the first people to get your body is work, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And
in the near future, it'll simply be Liz Kendall coming to collect your dying corpse.
Yeah, and then, like, they ask him, like, they say that the only word the dead guy said before he died was "Castle Guard." Do you know what that means? And Neil McDonough, like, really inappropriately chuckles and goes, "I don't know, it sounds like an amusement park." And it's like, cool, you don't seem at all suspicious, come to collect your fucking dead colleague, do you know what I mean? And just laughing about, was he talking gibberish again? He fucking loved to do that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least he died happy.
He died talking the kind of shit he talked every day until he got bonitis. No.
Yeah, and then we cut to France. Although there was a review on the IMDb page where a guy said, you know, the film starts in England, and I'm like, okay, mate, did you watch the whole thing? Like, but yeah, they're in France and they're digging up like fucking old bones and shit and giving a presentation to some people about, like, you know, what happened at this castle.
Yeah, it's great. It's they present this whole thing and it's called The Plot. It's wonderful and it's
it's like summary. Such a fucking insane density of Chekhov particles, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, here's Chekhov's castle, which was besieged during Chekhov's battle, and then they hung Chekhov's sister off the castle walls to enrage Chekhov's French, and so on and so forth, and then, like,
But then, and this is a quote from the movie, the French overpowered the English with sheer passion, and quite frankly, how did you know about my hobbies?
Edit that out.
I don't know, it's my job.
I want to know where they actually filmed this, because I swear to God, it's got that very filmed in a forest in Canada Stargate vibe to it, frankly.
All of this entire film is a bad two-parter of Stargate. Like, I swear to God, this exact plot was done by SG-1, but better.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was. You're right.
Complete with the audio balancing problems.
It looks like it has that, just the aesthetic of a, like, mid to late 90s sci-fi TV series. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I honestly think it's slightly worse than that. It feels like, to me, it feels like one of those fucking interminable, like, week-long in-person LARPs that they film and put online. And it feels like that kind of shit. It's just everything. The editing is dire. The color balancing is terrible. The audio is fucking atrocious. And the subtitles are in Italian.
To be fair, we did all watch this from a haunted Blockbuster. So
we did.
we're not going to make.
I don't think we can pin, and the subtitles were in Italian, on the filmmakers, because I believe that was Rob's fuck up for downloading a version with Italian subtitles. I mean, legally renting a version with Italian subtitles.
All the English bits weren't subtitled, and the French bits were subtitled in
Italian.
If
you turned the subtitles on, the English was subtitled in Italian. Because the first thing I did when they started speaking French was like, I'll just put the subtitles on. Oh, they're in Italian as well. Cool.
I had to put this fucking thing up to like 200% volume as well.
Yeah, it was very quiet.
I'm also going to break with you here, Jamie. I'm definitely blaming all of this on fucking Richard Donner and Gerard Butler specifically.
I mean, it's Richard Donner's penultimate film. Comes right between.
What did he do after?
He did 16 Blocks after, which is quite good.
Oh yeah, that is all right.
Immediately before this, he did Lethal Weapon 4, which is fucking dog shit.
Well, everyone gets a stinker or two, don't they?
And also alarmingly racist.
What's interesting is the cinematographer for this film has had a fucking varied career. Because I was curious, because I thought this is really badly shot and composed, and the sound design is awful, etc. And so I kind of looked at it, and this guy, he did Timeline. He then did National Treasure and The Passion of the Christ, which is such a fucking... Yeah, I know. But he then went on and did the Spiderwick Chronicles, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, Jack Reacher, and then the Disney's remake of The Lion King. That, with the really crappy like CGI.
Did they need
one.
A cinematographer for that? I thought the entire thing was just shot out by a computer.
I mean, yeah, it's just very, very bizarre.
Did they let him lean over the fucking artist's shoulder and work the mouse or something? Is that what a cinematographer does on that?
I don't know. It's certainly weird, because I don't know what it is he thought he was doing with this film, but it's just so bad. It's so badly put together, even for its time.
Pointing the camera at like people LARPing. Do you know what I mean? That's basically the gist of it. Although I've never seen one of the long LARP videos they put on YouTube, so my frame of reference is still going to be like Hercules or fucking like some other shit that was on the Sci-Fi Channel in the 90s.
To be fair, this movie could have done with the guy running through the screen, yelling lightning bolt and flicking bags of sand at like Gerry Racewall.
Again, though, I think Gerard Butler, like, one of the less annoying things about this film.
Yeah.
Which it takes some doing, quite frankly, but...
He also
sounds normal.
Yes, I was literally about to say that.
Almost normal.
Yeah, almost normal.
The thing about that is, though, see if you put him next to Billy Connolly, who's never sounded fucking normal.
No, never.
It helps. I fuck knows what's going on with Billy Connolly's accent. I've never fucking understood what that's supposed to be.
Billy Connolly always sounds like the Quaker Oats guy to me, and I can't explain why that
is. Billy Connolly is just Billy Connolly. He's very, very weird. Like, he used to be a welder way back in the day, and even back then, people commented that he had a weird accent given where he grew up and everything, and no one really knows why. He's got a bit of that kind of Chukta kind of thing going on, but no family to, like, no one knows why. It's very strange.
Just a weird guy.
Yeah,
he's just a weird guy.
Yeah,
National
maybe
treasure.
He just spent some time in France in 1350 Florence, and he just picked up an accent there.
Yeah, as for where the film was shot, I'm going to guess the bit when they first arrive in like medieval France, and Paul Walker says, "This could be my grandma's backyard in Oregon," or something like that. I'm going to guess they filmed it in someone's grandma's backyard in Oregon, and that's a clever nod to that.
Quite possibly.
What happened next, Jamie?
Yeah, so like they explain to people like the entire plot of the fucking film in advance, but educationally, and then
yeah. They basically play Warhammer Fantasy, but like badly and with no orcs. And then they say, this is the English, and these are the Bretons, and that's now they go to war.
Yeah.
We also have Paul Walker going around saying, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to learn about archaeology. That's for nerds."
Yeah.
I just
The
want to
past
bang
is-
this chick. It's like, okay.
Paul Walker is established as only hanging around because he fancies his dad's like student or something, which I suppose is better than his dad doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
we
he
get a
has
really
another
cool-
reason for hanging around, and that is doing like the worst job ironing I've ever seen anybody do.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob.
If you're a fan of ironing, there is one scene of ironing in this film.
Yeah, look away, kids.
That, I swear to God, that feels improvised by Billy Connolly too, particularly the dialogue in it. I just don't know why. It just seems like the sort of thing he'd throw in.
I doubt this.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of bits in this where the dialogue feels like very naturalistic. It was one of the better parts of it, I think. Where like just the performances do a lot of the time feel very natural. It's just that the film is shit, you know.
Yeah.
It's very Michael Crichton, though. I can. Do you know what I mean? You can definitely clock this as a Michael Crichton film from like the fucking first 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Because when you have the bit at the hospital and they're talking about how look all his fucking bones are out of joint and like all of his arteries are out of joint, and it's like, then how the fuck was he walking down the middle of the road? Like, do you know what I mean? Arteries kind of important, and they need to be joined up, otherwise they won't work.
In fairness, Jamie, he didn't walk down the middle of the road. He appeared in the middle of the road and fell over. And it was established it was for time travel that did it to him. So, like, that part's not an issue. What is an issue, and what is the most, like, Crichton thing in the fucking world, is later on when they're talking about the, DNA, like, sequences and all the rest of it, as part of the teleportation technology. And we're talking about...
loves DNA.
Yeah, no, it's very, like... Michael Crichton clearly learned a bit about this stuff, about, like, you know, the biology of how things work, but he knows nothing about physics, so he just throws it around like weird gobbledygook, and it I don't know.
At least physiognomy doesn't ever come into it.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, when they're at the hospital and the doctors are talking about how he's like the guy's not like joined up properly, like you get cuts to the fucking office where some lad from Lord of the Rings, I assume he was in. He's got that kind of head, and the guy that runs the Miami Marshal's office in Justified are having an argument about how the guy ended up in the middle of the road in the desert, and they drop a bunch of unexplained techno babble, like maybe he didn't have enough free space, like before he tried to fucking like use his marker or something like that.
So are we just gonna fucking let Middle Earth?
Yeah, no, let it go.
Fucking
let it
chronology just disappear. We're not touching that. No.
Was he in Lord of the Rings or not?
The world is more beautiful.
I don't know. I'm just more interested in a long fucking tangent in which we maybe talk about the brain pan of the Hobbit.
Small subject.
You might not have been in Lord of the Rings, actually. I genuinely can't remember much about Lord of the Rings. He wasn't in the first one. I know that much. No, I guess not. I'm thinking of someone else.
Are you talking about David Tewlin?
Yes, I think.
Yeah,
that's Harry Potter.
Who's Harry Potter's dad?
Harry Potter's dad.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, he looks a bit like a guy that was in Lord of the Rings or something. I don't know.
That's everyone that's in Harry Potter.
Probably.
It's all wizards, isn't it?
Yeah. Paul Walker makes a pass at his dad's student, and she tells him to fuck off because, like, she's not gonna, like, you know what I mean.
Well, she's in the middle of an archaeology. She's in
she's in the middle of digging a hole, yeah, and like, you know, his dad already warned him, like, you know, she loves digging holes as much as me, so if it comes down to being between you and digging a hole, then she's going to dig a hole, mate.
I can respect that.
Yeah, yeah.
We've all been to a beach before.
Yeah. The next day, Paul Walker...
I'd say get yourself a woman who understands the masculine urge to dig a hole, but unfortunately she'll be digging a hole.
Yeah, she'll be digging her own. Yeah. Simply be hooting and holler at you, screaming, this is a hole. This is my hole and no one else's.
Billy Connolly is like having his shirt ironed by his son so that he can travel to New Mexico and see the people that like fucking...
fund him.
The MFI or wherever the fuck it was he's getting his money from, I forget.
Yeah.
And they know too much about like the Middle Ages. They apparently keep telling him like, no, you shouldn't dig here, you should dig here, and he keeps digging there and then finding stuff, and they're like, he's like, how do they know so much about like where we should be digging? I'm gonna go and ask them. And so, like, you know, because they don't have phones, he just gets on a plane and goes. And then the next day, Paul Walker's talking to Gerard Butler, and Gerard Butler's dug up Chekhov's sarcophagus.
Well, not after showing off that he does know how to fire a bow and arrow and, wield sword. Which is not foreshadowing. It's just he just does that by sheer coincidence.
Yeah, he's a weeb, but for history.
Yeah.
Or a historian, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. And then they have a great discussion about like what's more important, looking towards the future, and then Gerry Racewell says no archaeologist looks towards the future. They're just constantly looking behind them. And that's because people in the past cared about each other and men were men, not, this fucking shirt ironing bullshit we have to deal with now.
That's right. You used to get ice on the inside of the windows.
He's just saying that all archaeologists agree with Fukuyama.
But yeah, he wants to return to a simpler time when you film things on a potato instead of a crisp.
Yeah.
And kids were allowed to play outside and so on. And then he's found this cool sarcophagus, which has got like
a guy without an ear,
a knight and his lady buried holding hands, which was very unusual for the time period. And also the knight's missing an ear, and you can definitely tell that
not very unusual for the time period.
Definitely could definitely tell it was carved that way because of some of the pixels. But then Paul Walker wants to know what's going on with the sarcophagus, and
it was an image marble.
Gerard Butler's just like fucking, you see, I fucking got you, you cunt. You wouldn't want to know why the guy's got no ear if you weren't interested in archaeology. Checkmate.
I do wish Gerard Butler had run around the whole movie just calling people cunts. That would have improved it vastly.
Yeah. The next scene I think is the digging like fucking on the site again, and then there's like a cave in at the monastery, and it unearths a secret fucking chamber. Gerard Butler and the woman, is it Kate? She's called.
Yeah, yeah. The Paul Walker's love interest. I think her name is Kate. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they go down like into the hole.
Yeah, because of a cave in.
Yeah. Cave in reveals like the secret basement that they didn't know the monastery had.
Actually, they don't just go like down into the basement, because like if I may like wild out a little bit, they get lowered into it by like 17 people, even though there were like 5 ton of like climbing gear. It's like you don't need 70 people to lower you into the hole. Just like does none of you just have like a simple fucking auto locker or something? Jesus Christ!
Or maybe like 2 people.
Yeah, or a ladder. But yeah, they go down at the hole, and they've got like little hats with torches on and shit, and they find a damaged like fucking, is it a fresco or something? And like she kicks off about who would damage such a beautiful like thing, and not at least paint a fucking Jesus over the top of it that looks like a fucking chimp. And they find like a fucking ancient French filofax or something, and then just as they're about to get pulled, there's another cave in starts, and it's like, okay, but stuff's falling through the hole. Like, what exactly is caving in above them? There's a hole there. There's no ground to fall through.
The cave.
Yeah, and,
but like,
and also like they're like, oh shit, there's another cave in. How must we escape? Well, obviously through the hole where all the big rocks are falling down. That's our way out of here.
Yeah. But then, just as they're about to get lifted up, Gerard Butler spots like something glinting on the floor, and it turns out to be a lens from Billy Connolly's glasses. And one of the documents in the ancient French filofax is like has a handwritten note on from Billy Connolly saying like fucking, help me, I am like fucking in ancient France. This is my signature. Please come and get me. And so like. They carbon date it, and like they're like, oh no, this is like the ink is 600 years old, and this like lens matches the prescription in his glasses. So Paul Walker tries to ring like fucking the CIA or whoever the fuck he's supposed to have gone to see, and like threatens to file a kidnapping like fucking complaint or report or whatever if they don't like tell him where his dad is. So the billionaire guy sends a plane to get them. And they fly out
which
there.
You could easily have crashed into the ocean on the way there.
Yeah. Like small plane accident, baby. Like they happen all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not interested in being a sinister billionaire. He wants them to go back to France and find the other guy who's lost there, because there's presumably they've accidentally invented a time machine. That's what comes up in the ensuing techno babble, which is it's wild as well because they literally get off the plane. They ask the guy like, "What's going on? Where's his dad?" And he's like, "We'll tell you everything as soon as we clear security." And then they clear security. They get told, "This is a time machine."
Yeah, smoke this, and then
yeah, they get told like, "This is a time machine," and then it's literally just like, "Right, get these fucking like peasant rags on. You're going back to France." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is fucking incredible. Also, it is at this point that like we don't just have like the sort of apart from Billy Connolly, we have Paul Walker, Gerard Butler, and Kate. And like there's a fourth guy. There's a fourth and a fifth guy. There's a physicist guy with a little lisp, and then there's the French guy. And the French guy's like, I don't want to go, but I will go. And like, I wonder how long you're gonna live through this movie.
I do want to say the time cube did remind me of the film Primer, which is a much better time travel film and probably equally confusing.
True. This film makes the mistake of telling you just enough about how the time travel works to make it annoying. It doesn't do the thing where it's like it's Terminator shit. It doesn't matter. Who cares? The man comes out the sphere and that's time travel. Like that's fine. Or like you can overcomplicate it and make it hundreds of fucking rules, but if you thread the needle right, it's good. This is just annoying. So like they've got a wormhole. It's a static wormhole, in that both points are roughly fixed, except they're not. And also you can return from any point, provided you have enough open space. If you press the little button, and the wormhole will suck you back to the fixed point on the other end. But sometimes it doesn't work when it drops you in.
The wormhole does what? I say pushing the little dial on the button.
But also they don't explain the time bit. So like it sends you back in time, okay, and then it brings you back to the present, okay. But
I mean, I was half watching.
Is it a fixed amount of time at all times? Can they only send you that far back? Does time operate at the same fucking pace on both ends of the wormhole?
Yeah, it does. It's Bill and Ted rules.
my brain like auto-filled the explanation for why the machine that moves things through space can also move things through time. It's like, oh yeah, that's actually physics. And then just like, I mean, bear in mind I was half watching this film.
The great thing is they explain it as like they were trying to invent a fax machine for objects.
Yeah. I mean, my notes for this whole scene just say, have you ever noticed how much the inside of a cheese grater looks like a medieval modem?
But yeah, they were trying to invent a fucking fax machine that could send solid objects, and they tried to send like a parcel to New York, and it never arrived.
They wanted to put FedEx out of business, baby.
Yeah. And it like the parcel never arrived, but then like a few hours later or something, it just reappeared back in the machine, and then they tried again, and it happened again, and then the billionaire had the genius idea to put a camera on it, and it's like, okay, and they got a picture of some forest, and then they decided to put the camera pointing up so they could see the stars, and then they used the stars to map out exactly where they were and what year it was. Which I don't know enough about stars to say whether that's true or not, but
I think that's correct. Yeah, you can measure that shit.
Yeah, I mean, there's been stuff where there have been like pictures of night skies from the olden days, and that's been used to like date events and stuff, I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also work out which village in France they were.
Oh yeah, you can do that. Like you can tell where someone is if you've got a view of the night sky over them, because obviously like the progression of the seasons, the tilt of the Earth, like you can get a pretty good idea if you can see directly overhead roughly where they are corresponding to the surface of the Earth, and the distance between the stars, like, you know, space is expanding and it is visible over hundreds of years. So like this part is all like scientifically like plausible. Like it's fine.
I will say they use a badly compressed JPEG.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the bit that Michael Crichton understood before he started to get to talk about the pet project he doesn't understand, which is DNA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had he considered that when people came back all fucked up, he could just put bits of frog DNA in them, and that would make them whole again?
Maybe. But yeah, anyway, they explain all this, and then they discovered they'd actually accidentally connected to a wormhole, which you would argue was kind of what they were trying to fucking do anyway. But like, yeah, they'd accidentally connected to a wormhole and it only goes to France in the Middle Ages. And that's why they started funding the dig at that French village, because they were just sending shit through the wormhole and seeing if the fucking like archaeologists could find it. I guess I don't fucking. It's never adequately explained what the fuck they're doing.
This is the world's
Deep
most
space
annoying
wine.
scavenger hunt.
But then like Billy Connolly insisted he wanted to go back and look at France, and then they lost him because they got like fucking they got chased by like the English or something, and the Neil McDonough just ran away. So they're sending them back. But like there's a guy there they want to kill. They keep mentioning like Decker and you know what to do if you see Decker and all this shit. And everyone gets in the machine that makes you pull a face like you shit yourself, and then you go back.
Oh
in
my
time.
god, that fucking scene! It's so fucking. It reminded me of one of the fucking Twilight films where there's that woman whose her power is like she causes people pain, and you just got like Robert Pattinson gurning as this woman just does nothing, and that's all that was going through my head at that time.
We're going to put you
It's
in a
pretty
room
fun.
full of mirrors, and we want you to act as if you're auditioning for a part in Cube.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
everybody
really funny
looks
is,
like they're just like they're being sent through the modem to the medieval times. But apart from like Gerry Racewell, who's just like he looks so happy to be off to the Middle Ages, like woo.
What's really funny is this is like a double-edged sword thing, because the director apparently was really opposed to using CGI in this film. He wanted to use it as little as possible, which means
yeah,
later
because
on,
it was 2003 and CGI was like shit back then. You know what I mean?
yeah. But it means that later on you get like, you know, some pretty good sort of reenactors like tooling around. But it also means that they didn't really do much other than like bog standard like transition fade edits on the teleporting you to another fucking time and place.
Yeah, and suddenly they're on like a not a coastline, like the shore of a river.
Riverbank. Yeah.
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 Couldn't resist putting some watery stuff into the wormhole, could they? Blatant fucking Stargate rip-off once again.
So I said everyone goes back, but the new metal physicist guy stays behind because someone's got to keep like fucking
rolling.
Yeah, that I was gonna say keep the knobhead honest, but like yeah, that'll do. But they do
You've
take.
got to have someone that's afraid of the transporter. Like it's just let's do every sci-fi bit that we've got. Someone's afraid of the teleporter. They can't use it. He has to use a shuttlecraft to go back to ancient France.
Yeah. Well, otherwise you might turn into the Fly.
Yeah.
But they do take Donald Sutherland's kid with them.
You'll see baguettes in the transporter stream. Sorry. I'm just got Star Trek bits coming at me now.
Yeah, they take Donald Sutherland's son back with them because he's the only one that speaks French, and nobody at this like fucking $1 billion like tech enterprise thought, we've got a wormhole here to medieval France. Should we get a translator or two?
No, hire more Marines.
Yeah, that's presumably why every time they send someone back, they either come back dead or like they lose them. Do you know what I mean? Just a bunch of American tourists suddenly appearing in the Middle Ages in France and demanding to know where the fucking like hot dogs are at or something like that.
Let's not get too fucky about the language stuff though, because like these people were not being understood. Like the English speaking ones were not being fucking understood.
Yeah.
They were not speaking modern English. Like already I'm annoyed about this, but I'll let it slide because it's a film and I'm supposed to enjoy it. I don't know when I'm supposed to start enjoying it, but I'm supposed to.
Maybe that's why they hired
were.
Billy Connolly, because like everybody in every time period is just like, that's weird, but I do understand him.
So Billy Connolly speaks in tongues.
Yeah, like...
So they end up on a riverbank. Some of them fall into the river and have to be rescued dramatically.
Yeah,
but
it's not even
quickly.
like it's like a proper river with like rapids or something. It's like, I don't know, it's like the brook out back that's got like a little rain in it, and they're just like, oh no,
Yeah.
we're all about to fucking drown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you
It
tried
is the
swimming,
most like North American forest I've ever seen as well.
yeah, but have you tried swimming in river rapids while dressed as a French peasant and having just been through the shit yourself vortex?
Well, I didn't want to bring it up tonight, but you know.
But yeah, so they land fucking they get on like land. Paul Walker like comments that it looks like his grandma's backyard in Oregon, and then Neil McDonough is like Neil McDonough brought two former Marines with him as well, because they're his best guys. They can handle any situation. They both immediately die in the next scene.
I know they're not quite credited as such, but they are simply Mook 1 and Mook 2. Like, it's just...
Both of them do make it onto the top cast list on IMDb, though. One of them's called Mike Shoot. Sounds like a name you would ring Mo's bar and ask for, like, to be honest. But anyway, Neil McDonough's explaining how the fucking little, because everyone gets a Hot Topic necklace to go back with them, and that's the way it works. Is, you know what I mean? You have to give a sample of your DNA and everything to the fucking time travel people, and then they send you back, and then when you press the button on the Hot Topic necklace, if you press it in one place, a little tiny digital display shows you how long's left until the wormhole closes. And if you press it, if you
caress it gently,
and if you squeeze it, then it tries to teleport you back. But as he's explaining how this works, and presumably about to tell everyone how, if you need to press a thing to come back, how the parcels just came back on their own.
I was just that's only just occurred to me why.
But then he gets interrupted. Well, he was about to explain it all, but then he gets interrupted by Anna Friel running through the forest, yelling at them in French to hide. And so everyone runs except for one of the Marines, who gets killed by a guy on a horse immediately. And then while everyone else is running around and hiding, the second Marine gets shot with an arrow that doesn't have an arrowhead on it, which is a recurring theme in this film. I think they just thought nobody would notice. You know what I mean? The magic is
expensive.
I think that was a fire-hardened arrow, actually. So
that doesn't sound like a real thing.
No, it's not.
Well,
you've been playing too much The Long Dark, James.
It looks like a fucking breadstick.
It's got the dark point on the end to explain, right, they didn't use, a lot of the time they didn't use, metal arrowheads when they were just shooting civilians, because the civilians weren't armoured. There's the short version for it. The metal was for piercing armour most of the time.
That sounds fake.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Listen, there's a whole bit later on where, they very cleverly don't light their arrows on fire before shooting them. And, because they did that shit all the time. That was a common thing. You would always light your arrow on fire before shooting it.
Yeah, that's
called them night arrows.
Yeah, except when you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and you do wall paint over your arrows right before you go out.
But yeah, the other Marine gets shot with a bunch of fucking breadstick arrows that are too blunt to kill anyone, and then as he's dying from the third of these, he's pulling a grenade out, and then he hell-divers his entire fucking squad, because he's about to throw the fucking, you know what I mean, the stratagem, when he gets, he accidentally presses the thing and teleports himself back to the base and blows up the time travel machine. And then, then from that point on, the people in the present day are relegated to just turning up occasionally with a bit of circuit board and glasses on top of the head and going we're at 81%, lads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Basically, most of the scenes in the modern day for the rest of the movie are Harry Potter's dad and Fred Durst yelling at each other because the Grunchum florp isn't working or whatever the fuck it is.
Hello, and thank you for choosing Podcasting is Praxis. Our podcasters are experiencing an unusually high volume of unfunny bits at the moment, so you've been placed in a queue. Your patronage is important to us, and I need to inform you of the great benefits you freeloaders are missing out on by not subscribing on Patreon. A back catalogue of premium episodes, plus a bonus episode every month, ad-free regular episodes, plus you get access to our Discord, which, in addition to being able to harass the Praxis Cast crew with your favourite Star Wars characters, will allow you to listen to all of your favourite cutting room floor moments, such as... and...
Fuck off, Alistair.
Subscribing lets us create more of these hilarious moments, so please do subscribe for just $5 a month on patreon.com/praxiscast. And now, back to the episode.
Yeah, Gerard Butler, fucking warns Paul Walker and the woman from Mansfield Park that they're about to get fucking spotted. And so he runs away and lures one of the knights off, and then he ends up getting chased through the fucking woods by all of them. Reaches a riverbank, and then sees a little hole in the riverbank, and he crawls into the hole, And
This is his
crawls
hole,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, crawls
This
onto Anna Friel, who starts who, despite being in there hiding from the English, starts yelling and has to be shushed.
This is a film primarily about getting into various holes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he's shushing her, and she's got like some weird chin strap from a hat across like her fucking face, and only when he pulls that like chin strap down, he goes, "Jesus, you're a girl," and it's like, okay, the girl identifier is logged on, I guess. So the English turn up at the riverbank, go, "Oh, we've lost the trail, we better look for it," and then the French start shooting at them. And in the ensuing chaos, the dead guy the first guy that gets killed falls in front of the hole, and Gerard Butler steals his sword. Then, the English seem to leave. Anna Friel crawls out of the hole and immediately gets grabbed by some Baz guy. And Gerard Butler stabs him in the side with the sword. And despite, there's a lot of points in this film where someone will get hit in the back by one arrow and then immediately die, just instantly, just lights out, they're dead, no last breath, no final words, nothing. They're just like the fucking lights just turn out, like someone had just severed the brainstem. This guy gets a sword through the ribs and is still up for wrestling. And shouting for help. Gerard Butler has to shush him as well. And then he escapes with the French lady, who is obviously Chekhov's French lady from the start of the film.
Yeah, There's a mysterious lady mentioned when they're all playing Warhammer Fantasy, and it's like, I wonder who that is.
Yeah, Claire de Chekhov.
Yeah, they mentioned that Lady Claire got hung off the battlements to annoy the French, but it actually annoyed the French instead, and the French kicked the castle down. And but by saving her now on the riverbank, he's disrupted the flow of history, at least until the plot decides otherwise later on, I guess.
Except it didn't, because it made no difference whatsoever to the people in the present day.
Yeah. Well, no, because it gets fixed again. So, somehow nature abhors a paradox, I guess. But yeah, so she leads them to the village.
I believe the full length of that phrase is "nature abhors a paradox gamer."
Yeah, God, imagine if they'd sent Paradox gamers back in time. That'd be that'd be hilarious,
Show me your nearest maps. They turned up with all their colouring pens and
Yeah, so she leads them to the village, and then they're sort of wandering around the village, very very conspicuously trying to avoid the soldiers, and then surprisingly they all get captured by the soldiers. She escapes briefly, and they have to get taken to see Michael Sheen, who is the evil English Lord British or some shit. He's sparring with his fucking men to prove how much of a cool sword guy he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to know who they are and why they sound weird. And Gerard Butler's like, "'Cause we're Scottish." And then he wants to know who the tall guy is, which is fucking the Sutherland lad, who's his head's touching the ceiling, the guy says. And when he finds out he's French, he assumes he must be a spy. And then in the most ridiculous fucking scene in the film, asks the guy to because they say he's their translator. And so the fucking Prince John or whoever the fuck he's meant to be asks him to translate the "I am a spy" from French, and then when he says "I am a spy," stabs him for being a spy. And it's it's just, do you know what I mean? It's so bizarre.
Why did he say he was French? Of all the places,
he should have said he was Canadian.
But he's a historian. Surely he can just say County of Savoy. Yeah,
I'm sorry, but the fucking American gets a free pass.
Yeah, he says he's Scottish, and the guy's just yeah, okay, the Scottish do sound weird.
It's Gerard Butler, so it passes.
Yeah, but yeah, and then it's revealed that they've already captured fucking Billy Connolly. And he told them he was a sorcerer or some shit, and promised to give them fucking Greek fire.
He showed them his inquisitorial seal, and now they have to listen to him.
Yeah. So they stab like fucking Sutherland Jr., who, you know what I mean? Rip.
Yeah.
The only other thing I think I've seen him in is one episode of The Expanse, if I remember rightly.
Was he in a tank?
No, he's one of the fucking belters that gets questioned by Thomas Jane about where the fucking woman's going in the first few episodes. Yeah, they kill him and then they put everyone up in the attic where Billy Connolly's asleep. Because, you know, the most relaxing time of your life is like, you know, the middle of the afternoon in medieval France when you've been captured by the English.
When you've only got like 5 hours to make your way back to the time wormhole.
Oh, no, his thing already expired. Like, that's why they have to send everyone else back with new fucking, like, necklaces to fucking bring him back. Which seems like a very inefficient system, really, you know? But...
yeah. And then they also go, but actually we can outwit these, you know, stupid medieval peoples because we have, you know, the knowledge of 650 years of trading Pokemon cards back and forth to each other or some shit.
Yeah,
that's
I once
right.
programmed a VCR, therefore.
Yeah, so they use that terrifying like mass of future knowledge to make a hole in the roof that someone can climb out of.
Again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The central motif of this film, clambering.
But they have to send Kate because she's the only one that can climb through the hole they just made in the roof. You know, it's a fucking thatched roof. It can't be that hard to make the hole bigger, surely. But she climbs over the top, nearly falls off. Paul Walker, master of stealth, like puts his arm through the thatch roof to catch her before she falls, while yelling, "I've got you! Don't worry, I've got you! We'll pull you back through the roof." And somehow the guards directly underneath them don't hear this.
And no one notices all of the bits of thatch falling as well, because that's not a particularly common thing to happen. But oh well, like these guards all are terminally like.
Just assume it's a windy day.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
maybe there's a really hench seagull up there fucking about and nobody wants to deal with it. You know what I mean? I'm not drawing attention to the fact, or it'll be after me chips again.
Medieval chips, which only a magister used to be able to make with his Greek fire.
Well, no, like I mean, the guards in this was something I thought as well. The guards in this are very like Skyrim rules as well. Because unless you're directly in their immediate line of sight, and even then if you're a certain distance away, they just can't see you. This happens repeatedly in the film, where people are directly in front of people who are looking for them, and they just don't spot them at all. Apart from this bit where he's in the corridor.
I've just looked up and Michael Sheen plays Lord Oliver.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, with his fucking band of bazzers. Because every single one of his guys looks like a solid pint enjoyer. Like they all have opinions about small boats.
Yeah, love me pints, love me wife, ate the French.
We're going to get to the small boat scene in a little bit, but that's fantastic, and I love it very much.
Surely they're all in favour of small boats because it lets them go over to invade France.
Yeah. But yeah,
but before Kate escapes or does escape, I forgot which one of the two it is, because she notices that there's like another like giant gaping hole in the inefficiency barn that they're all in, and it's just like before she gets out, I think it's Robert Qualls who says to her, if you escape from here, you must be ready to take a life."
Yeah.
They also say before that, look, collectively we've got several hundred years of knowledge on these guys. We should be out in 20 minutes as if something that gets dropped in at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, Gerard Butler notices them recapturing Lady Claire.
Yeah.
And so when like Kate fucking gets out and helps everyone else escape, Gerard Butler has to go back to rescue her. And he steals a bow and arrow and then tries to hold a guy at bow point. And the guy's not having any of it and like yells traitor, and so he has to shoot him. And then he's all sad and he's like, "Why didn't you listen to me?" But again, that guy who's wearing armor, I think, just takes one arrow and then dies immediately. Like, I think, do you know what I mean? I think the people that programmed the wormhole like overtuned ranged weapons, quite frankly. Like,
as a mod for that.
Stealth Archer. Stealth Archer wins every time. Skyrim rules.
But yeah, then that lad from the fucking Born Supremacy turns up. and tries to kill him with an axe. So he has to barricade himself in the room with Lady Claire, who then kicks a hole in the wall so they can escape again.
Yeah. My note did say, here's medieval Johnny, because he keeps trying to crash with
Those two get away to the river.
Yeah. I will say that, like, that one of the main themes of this entire movie is escape through hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I think it did. Like, Gerry and Anna Friel escape down the river in like a fucking little basket.
In a little coracle. No, it's great. That's almost like time accurate. And I love me a coracle. Because whilst I was watching this scene, because they're making like goo eyes at each other, it's obviously the start of a great romance. so I just kind of went insane. And I just went, the love coracle, soon we'll be making another run. Set a time machine for adventure. You'll have a new romance.
All right.
Call me and I will write the love coracle for you. And
I reckon if I
cocktail maker.
I reckon if I was in timeline and I went back in time, the people that are then around me would sound exactly like Rob is sounding to me right now.
You're all just jealous of the love coracle, which I guarantee is going to be a giant hit.
Are you on the wine again?
I imagine this section of the podcast is doing numbers with people over the age of 60. Anyway, everyone else gets like herded into a fucking shed or something, don't they?
Yeah,
they escape, they run into a shed, and then they get found pretty much immediately, which kind of defeats the whole point. Because
they run into the one building that's there.
Yeah,
in plain view of everyone.
First they do like the MacGuffin dance where they all try to press their the time button, and it turns out the time button doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually a good bit when they're escaping from the castle where like they tell fucking they tell Robert Quarrels that they need to go back and get like fucking Gerard Butler, and he's just basically like, no, fuck that shit. I'm sick of the lot of yous. Do you know what I mean? And like runs off. Which I thought was good, because he's like he's like the fucking soldier that got sent back to protect them, and he's just like, no, I've had enough of this shit. It's like herding cats with you lot. Sort your fucking selves out. I'll be over there teleporting back to the future.
Yeah, and it's also a rare bit of foreshadowing as well. Like, you know, that bit works because later on you find out.
I'm sorry, did you just say rare bit of foreshadowing, or was that ironic?
Yeah.
Yeah, ironic, yes. But no, this one actually works well because it sets up later when you get introduced to the minor villain of the piece. Like, you know, you can, it fills in exactly what happened without having to explicitly spell it out. So, you know, fair, okay, thank you, we'll take it. I still don't understand why they went to the whole trouble of doing the escape and then the not escape. Like, they could have just had Gerard Butler get out somehow or not been captured in the first place, but
again, they could have just crashed the plane on the way to fucking New Mexico.
Yeah, they could have.
Also, the whole thing with like fucking Robert Quarrels just running away is already established, because that's how Billy Connolly ends up left in the past.
Mm.
I don't think it's not as explicitly on screen though. This does it on screen.
No, it's not on screen, but it is spelled out and said like explicitly by Robert Quarrels. So yeah.
Never trust Mr. Quarles.
Yeah, so they're all hiding out in a barn, and then a horse kicks the door in and demands to know what the fuck they're doing in its house. Mm-hmm. And the English guy on its back throws like fucking lit torches at them or some shit.
Mm.
Billy Connolly and Robert Quarrels get recaptured, and Paul Walker and Kate like escape from a burning house through the roof because nobody thinks to look there.
No.
And then they run off into the woods or something.
Yeah, everybody gets separated at this point, and then like they come back together, but not quite, and you know, like,
yeah,
it's easy. It's easier for the production process.
Yeah, Gerard Butler like has a little fucking, you know what I mean, romance scene going down the river with like the French lady, and then like they get rescued by French soldiers. He saves one of the French soldiers from the English. Another fucking thing highlighted on the IMDb page is that when the French soldiers get ambushed by the English on the river there, when they're picking up Gerard Butler and Anna Friel, is your fucking lad from the Bourne fucking ultimatum yells fire, and apparently according to the IMDb that's a goof, because they
It
didn't
is.
yell fire. They
would
didn't
say
yell
loose.
fire. Yeah, they wouldn't say fire until they invented gunpowder weapons. And then there are cannons at the end of the film, and I suspect they might be a gunpowder weapon, but I'll have to check. But yeah, they yell the wrong thing, and then but Gerard Butler heroically saves this French soldier. So then in the next scene, when he's introduced to the Merovingian from the Matrix, like the guy won't stab him because he thinks he's English and is going to stab him, but then he's like, no, I'm not English, I'm Scottish, and he's like, well, that's all right. Then if you're Scottish and you saved the life of my guy, then you can have a horse and a sword and go off to immediately get recaptured by the English.
Yeah, it's the efficiency is not great, I have to say.
Yeah. So then he gets dumped in a cart that's currently going along with Billy Connolly and Neil McDonough fucking dragged behind it. And then the night guy, Decair, is revealed to actually be the guy Decker that they mentioned at the start of the film. He got left behind by Robert Quarrel's running away again. And he can't go back. But he can't go. He's mad about being left behind, but he's also mad that if he goes back again, he'll die from fucking bonitis. So
yeah, no pleasing that guy.
Getting real mixed messages from you there, you know what I mean. He steals everyone's Hot Topic necklace, so they can't go back to the future, and then stabs Neil McDonough to death, and tells Billy Connolly that he has to make the fucking Greek fire for Lord Oliver, otherwise there'll be so much trouble. But yeah, what I mean.
But this is also at the point. At some point, they start having to make the Greek fire, and it's Billy Connolly and I think it's Gerry Racewell in the shed
doing alchemy.
No, because they're literally locked in the shed from the A-Team. Where they have all the tools necessary to effect a great escape. It's we have all we have gunpowder, but hey, we also have a torch and some other bullshit.
Yeah, Paul Walker and fucking the woman go to the monastery and ask the monks if they can fucking hide there. And the monks have met his dad or something, so they're fine with it. They go into the monastery, they go down to the basement where they find his glasses, but they they have to leave them behind so as not to cause a fucking paradox or whatever. Because if the glasses aren't there, they won't find them in the present day and then come back to find the glasses then and then leave the glasses there so they can find them in the present day and so on and so forth. And then she realizes that earlier in the film when she was saying what kind of sick, disgusting freak would break a fucking ancient mural, it's actually her, and then she breaks the ancient mural because the tunnel's behind it.
It's me! I'm a disgusting freak.
Yeah. So they they tell the monks to go and get the Merovingian, and then they go off down the tunnel. Meanwhile, fucking Billy Connolly and Gerard Butler have invented fucking fireworks and put them in the big cannon, and the French are sieging the castle by shooting fucking hot rocks at it.
The trebuchets are pretty cool, though. I did like me a good trebuchet.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, it looks less expensive than Armies of Darkness, but yeah, I suppose for the 27 quid they spent on the castle siege, it's not terrible. But yeah, they fire a big rocket filled with Greek fire at one of the trebuchets,
and inexplicably a massive fucking harpoon.
Yeah. So it's got to stick in the ground. You know what I mean? You don't want it lying on its side on the ground and just spinning around like a Catherine wheel. That wouldn't be effective or something. But it lands and it sets fire to the trebuchet, and Michael Sheen's all like, "Well, that's a bit fucking shit." And and then it actually goes off properly because the French try to piss it out, and it piss just makes him angrier, and it fucking the whole trebuchet burns up, and he decides that Billy Connolly really is a sorcerer and can have 20 men to make more fucking fireworks with. And then so they go off to do that, and then we have the exchange of arrows, they shoot burning arrows at each other. And then the English very sneakily shoot night arrows, which is regular arrows, but they shoot them at night. Do you know what I mean?
Without lighting them on fire, so you'd never know they were there.
Yeah,
I like how the French also call them night arrows.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
I don't know
thing.
what the Italians call them, but that, is yet to reveal itself.
But yeah, so the English sneakily disconnect the brake lights on their arrows and then fire them at the French in the dark, and the French get all hit and they have to retreat.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Stick a brick on the accelerators of the various arrows.
Yeah. So the French retreat a bit, and then the Merovingian goes down the tunnel in the monastery, and he gets to the end, but they can't. There's no exit, which kind of makes you question why the tunnel's there. Really, they're under the castle, but there's no manhole to climb out of, and at the same time,
no hole.
Yeah,
yeah,
and Michael Sheen has apparently recaptured Lady Claire, and he has her brought out onto the battlements. But in the sneakiest way possible, so as not to tip his hand to the audience who don't know she's been recaptured. He just says, "It's time," and then his guy turns around and shouts, "Oi, it's time!" And then another guy gives a big thumbs up and goes to get her. They're about to hang her off the battlements so that a brother has to choose a brother who isn't actually there, you know what I mean, has to choose between knocking the castle down or letting his sister live. And then Gerard Butler steals a Zippo and threatens to blow up the whole castle by chucking it at the fucking Greek fire.
Mm.
And Future Boy, Decker, he says, he's not going to do that because if he did that, the whole castle would blow up. And then Gerard Butler just fucking, does that.
Levels that bitch.
Yeah, and so the castle blows up just as the Merovingians freaking out about being in a tunnel with two English people. But then, wouldn't you know it, the explosion of the Greek fire makes a perfect hole lined up with the end of the tunnel, and the Merovingian kisses both of them and then climbs out to kill English people. It's great. It's
yeah,
it's a beautiful moment, you know what I mean? So then, all hell breaks loose.
There's also moments in this film where this would be a really good moment in a better film. It's a real shame. I also, just for a side, we've been totally skipping the B-plot around, the corporate bullshit. Where they're trying to
back in the far future of the cheese grater, yeah.
Yeah. Fred Durst and fucking Harry Potter Senior are trying to fucking glue the fucking machine back together. But Harry Potter Senior is
PVA glue.
Yeah. And also, obviously, Chief Marshal Dan or whatever the fuck, whatever he was called. He's fucking he's trying to fix the machine as well, and they get it to 81%, and they have done successful tests at 80% before, but never with a live person. So fucking, you know what I mean? Harold Potter is fuck this, we're not doing that. And then it turns out Marshal Dan goes to yell at him, and it turns out he's actually scared because what if the papers find out we've been firing people into medieval France and only half of them have come back? Do you know what I mean? They'll call it a death machine. So, just fucking... I mean, frankly...
Unthinkable in 2003 that billionaires would invent torment and ecstasies.
It's mad, isn't it? It seems quaint almost now, the idea that a billionaire would be concerned about what the press would say rather than just buy them and tell them what to say. But yeah, anyway, he pushes Marshal Dan, and he trips backwards through a rack of medieval coats and hits his head on something, and then dies, maybe? It's he's lying there on the floor all stunned and patting the back of his head like there's blood there, and fucking Harold runs off, and then we never see him again. I think that's so. I guess he died on the way back to his home planet. But Fred Durst locks himself in the control room so that fucking Harold Potter can't get in and not rescue the people.
Yeah.
And all the guys in lab coats just go along with this. I guess they're just no, you know what? He's got a cool goatee. We'll let him be in charge for a while.
I know that guy was paying my salary, my livelihood, but
But this guy has frosted tips.
Yeah. I will say I was genuinely surprised by this turn of the movie because I was 99% sure that Fred Durst was going to fucking get it in the first half hour of the movie.
Yeah. So where were we in France? Yeah, all hell's broken loose. The French have got into the castle. It's kicking off everywhere. Fucking Paul Walker squares off against Michael Sheen. Tries to stab him with a halberd, but then finds out how armor works. But luckily distracts him long enough so that the fucking Merovingian can run up and stab him.
Yeah.
and tells him this is for France.
Yeah, which I'm not sure conceptually still already exists, but I might be wrong about that.
Well, but yeah,
yeah, and then Gerry and the one of the Lost Boys, the Lost Time Warp man who can't go back because he's got bonitis, have a big fight. Lord Doink Doink or whatever the fuck, Claire or the Care or Decker or whatever the fuck his name is,
dickhead.
Yeah.
He actually, like, fair play to him. He does better in that fight than he does with the time with, like, Jason Bourne twatted shit out of him with a rolled-up magazine. So, he's obviously learned something. I guess if this came out after that Bourne film, I can't remember. But, yeah, they have a big fight, and Gerard Butler's losing until he gets his ear cut off and then realizes that, like, fate has ordained him to be the guy in, like, Chekhov's casket. And suddenly he realizes, like, the whole future's laid out in front of him. He's going to marry the French lady. And so, like, he just jumps up and kicks the shit out of the guy.
And then the camera pans back and it's just Gerard Butler writing the script.
It's great though, because he gets his ear cut off and he's like, my ear, and then he pats the side of his head to make sure he pats the side of his head to make sure his ear is actually gone, and then goes like, haha, it's me, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, the Gerard Butler identifier is logged the fuck on.
It's me, hi, I'm the Gerard, it's me.
So he gets up and stabs the guy, and then like the guy dies, and then Paul Walker tells Billy Connolly and Kate to run outside and wait for him in a field because because
they need the 40-yard clearance in order to affect the time slot.
I'm sorry, but what about the ground?
Quiet now, quiet. Go back to sleep. It's okay. Don't question the physics of this time machine.
And why does the Stargate only stay open for 38 minutes at a time? What's that all about?
Yeah.
Do you know, they actually answered that in SG-1.
I know they did.
They felt compelled to answer it.
Yeah, so like after much cajoling, they fuck off outside to wait for Paul Walker. Well, he shouts at Gerard Butler to come with him. Gerard Butler chucks him his Hot Topic necklace of time travel. And then, which he has to get off the fucking guy just stabbed, who then wakes up briefly for a second to say, like, take me home, please, and then dies again. And, like, Gerard Butler, like, fucking chucks the thing, and Paul Walker says, no, come on, we've got to go home. And then Gerard Butler puts his arm around Anna Friel and goes, like, I am home. And Paul Walker's just like, right, well, I'm going to miss you, and then runs off.
Yeah.
And then, pursued by horses, he gets to them in the middle of the field.
Yeah, everyone starts gurning again.
But no, back in the modern world, Harold Potter has given up trying to break into the control room and runs down to pull the batteries out of the machine.
Yeah.
And Fred Durst chases after him, but just as Fred Durst's about to get onto the platform, like the machine activates because they press the button in the field, and the mirrors close, and Harold Potter's like trapped inside.
Yeah,
and goes,
he's like, I'm not wearing my thingamajig.
I haven't got a marker. I'll never make it home. And then, like, just for good measure, appears in medieval France directly in the path of one of the Bazes on horseback, who we are left to assume cuts him into small pieces and feeds him to a bully XL.
You only had regular bullies back then.
Yeah. But then everyone else reappears in like inside the Gurning cube in the future. And then what they go back to France. And they find out that
there's like a bonus inscription.
They've dug out the side of of Chekhov's coffin, and there's an inscription on there that says like fucking basically they all lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
If only they'd done this earlier.
They have 3 children who are named after Paul Walker.
They have 3 children. And the third one is named after the French guy that got killed. And it's like, why would you wait until your third kid to name it after your friend who got killed? Do you know what I mean? Surely, like, you would think, I'll name it, I want to memorialize him. Maybe I'll name, especially since it's the Middle Ages and you know what the Middle Ages are like because you're from the future. Why would you think, no, I'll wait till my third kid before I fucking, you know what I mean? Before I honor my friend.
Yeah, lucky third child. That's what I always say.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the fucking, you know what I mean, credits roll.
Yeah. The one thing we never find out, by the way, which is what still intrigues me, is at the start of the movie, when the second director pops up in the desert with bonitis, how did he get there?
Because he's running away, and he's running away from a knight and he presses his fucking necklace, but he's still in the tree line, which is why he gets teleported into the middle of the road rather than into the fucking like time cube.
Okay, yeah, that completely passed me by.
Yeah,
I did not catch that either.
that's basic. Like I said, like, you know, when the doctors are talking about how bone-itis-y that guy is, it cuts to fucking Harold Potter and Marshall Dan talking about how did he end up in the middle of the road, and Marshall Dan goes, because he's the science guy, goes like, I don't know, maybe he didn't have enough clearance before activating his marker.
Oh, okay.
And then,
okay,
like,
yeah,
and then Harold Potter goes, well, he's a fucking idiot then. And the other guy's like, well, you know, he is dead. Like, fucking, as if, you know
Right,
what I mean?
but
It's
that the guy with the grenade was in the middle of a fucking forest and activated it, and he landed.
No, he
right
was
back
on
the
a
path.
large flat rock, the kind a lizard might enjoy. I remember that because I saw it and I thought, oh, a lizard might enjoy that rock.
Vivarius.
Yeah. Maybe the grenade worked like some kind of focusing crystal.
The one thing we never discover from this film is, what does it sound like when Billy Connolly tries to talk French?
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, we've established he speaks in tongues.
Billy Connolly
I don't
is the Babel fish.
Je m'appelle Billy Connolly.
Starts doing a
J'ai
meat pie
pillé
into
gros banane.
We, the bumblebees.
But yeah, I mean, it is like a very Michael Crichton film. You know what I mean? I imagine like he was very insistent that like they had to keep all the techno babble exactly as is in the novel.
Yeah, and also make
Unless
sure
he-
that the
unless
rich
he
guy
was-
dies at the end.
Yeah, unless he was dead by the time this came out, I genuinely, I was such a useless. I'd be useless in medieval France because I don't even know what happened in my lifetime, let alone like fucking 600 years ago.
Oh no, he was alive. 2008 he died.
Oh well, at least you got to see this film come out.
The poor fucker. Oh well. Well, that was the film that was absolutely designed for us, so we shall never ever do a film again. The cultural committees are now over. That's it.
You've all been part of a social experiment. You can now return to your homes.
Only jokes. We'll have another cultural committee again for next month. Look forward to that one, because I've already decided what it is. Maybe we should do. Why don't we just do the Wrath of Khan?
Why don't we don't do
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Why don't we
nah,
do
we're not gonna
another? We could do another Michael Crichton film and like cover Runaway with its terrifying robotic spiders.
that? No, it'll be Civil
What,
War.
am I here to fuck robotic spiders?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us. This has been a free episode, hasn't it? Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you want more episodes which are not about dog shit films involving Gerard Butler, or possibly about dog shit films involving Gerard Butler, then join the Patreon, patreon.com/praxiscast. We have 2 episodes a month now. 2 whole extra episodes.
Yeah.
That is a
That's right.
100% increase in extra episodes.
Yeah, and it's nailed on at this point because we've already recorded one of them and we're about to do the second. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So come join us for like the rarest fucking crossover bit where me and Jamie are both interested in economics and the results may terrify you.
that's right.
Yeah, but yeah, join the Discord as well. Enjoy an extra 17 minutes of fucking whatever the hell that was we recorded before the last episode. And yeah,
It was good content. That's what that was.
Yeah, the left finally comes for Taylor Swift.
It was
Don't
great,
set him
wasn't
off
it?
again. Don't set him off again. We're almost out the door.
By God, is that the Wiggles music I hear? Anyway.
Please do check out the Twitch streams. That's twitch.tv/praxiscast on Thursdays at about 7:30, or 7 if you're
Not this
Alistair.
Thursday.
But not this Thursday. Not that this will come out before Thursday, probably anyway. Who fucking knows? Time, as I've said, should be fucking
Why
destroyed.
don't you simply go into the wormhole and find a night where there's twitching?
Go into the Gurning Cube and listen to this podcast at a time when this would make sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
just don't forget to
which
wear
is-
your marker, or otherwise, you'll end up like Harry Potter's dad.
Yeah, log on to Hot Topic. Use the affiliate link below.
Merch available, practicecast.gmail.com. Bye.
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 See ya.